Hey, congratulations, you've reached the end of the course here. So you've learned a lot about C# and making web applications. So let's take a look back at what you've done. So at the first unit, we did some background information, which hopefully now sounds familiar. How does MVC work? We worked with a CRUD application. So remember we built the James Bond tools, that all of his gadgets. We created a login form and a registration page. We worked with the entity framework and compared and contrasted how that works with regular SQL statements. Then we worked with Razor and forms. So that involved creating a set of buttons so we could create a game. It worked with layouts, so you had a header and a body and a footer. We worked with Bootstrap, so you can make your own nav bars. We worked with data validation so that you can check to see if some fields are required or if the date needs to match. Then we talked about partial views, and so you can update just a piece of the web page. Now finally, we got to the section called Enterprise Features. We did some logging. We created REST services, APIs that worked with JSON data. That is WCF. We worked with action filters, so that way you can filter out certain people, and so only access to certain pages is allowed. We worked with caching, which could help in some circumstances if you need to have an application improvement for the performance. We worked with saving your game state to a database. And then also we worked with dependency injection. So congratulations, pat yourself on the back, look at everything that you've gotten some familiarity with now. So you are now further ahead with web development than you were just a short time ago. Where would you go next? So the .NET framework is evolving. So starting in 2001, .NET and ASP.NET came into existence. And it's gone through several iterations since then. So currently in 2020, .NET Core is the current version of ASP.NET. And so we haven't taught that yet. It's still something that you might want to explore. What are the differences between the two? Well, ASP.NET, the one that you know now, is primarily for Windows. And so we worked with Windows and Visual Studio for Windows. If you're in .NET Core, you can program on Windows, Mac, a Linux machine. You can do any of those. You can work with Visual Studio. You could work with VS Code or any other text editor. Also for hosting, the programs that you've built now are designed to run on a Windows server. So IIS stands for the Internet Information Server, which is Microsoft's web server. According to their specifications on .NET Core, you can run this on any kind of server. ASP.NET is proprietary. Microsoft owns the whole thing. And for the core version, they have made it open source. So it is just as available to you as some PHP or JavaScript application. And so .NET Core maybe is your next step if you want to expand and grow in your knowledge of web development. So you might be wondering, have I learned the right things? Do I have the right tools for the job market? And so the answer is you'll find out when you start interviewing and people ask you about specific technologies that you know. But surveys kind of give us a good indication of what out there is popular. And so Stack Overflow runs an annual survey that thousands of developers respond to and give us a good snapshot of what's going on in the world of programming. So you can see that C# falls way down the list. So you might ask yourself, why bother learning C# if it's so far down the list? Well, the type of programs that are developed are not all the same. So JavaScript and HTML pretty much run on every kind of platform. We even saw it in the examples that we were working with on our applications, that we use JavaScript, we use CSS, we use HTML. It's integrated in every kind of framework. And so C# is not the only language that we worked with. Now also you would think that the type of language indicates the type of client. So if you're working for a large company with large scalable platforms that have millions of customers, then you're probably going to look for things like Java and C#, and maybe not so much of pure JavaScript. Here's another slide from the same survey. What are the most loved, dreaded, and wanted frameworks? So you can see that .NET Core shows up high. As a matter of fact, it's first place on things that developers love. And you can see that even .NET, the one that we've been working with, is still rated at a 61%. So this is not the entire list. This is just like the top 10 or so. And so .NET shows up as a very popular kind of framework. You notice what's missing here is we don't see Java Spring or Java Enterprise, neither one of those. So .NET seems to have a strong following of loyal programmers. So here's a third slide for the Stack Overflow survey. This is talking about other frameworks, libraries, and tools, specifically targeting web development. And so you can see that this is giving us an insight onto how popular .NET is compared to .NET Core. So right now, the older technology, .NET, is still in more used places than .NET Core. So that's a good argument to say that you didn't waste your time learning a language that has actually been superseded. So .NET Core might be the newest kid on the block, but its development and uptake is not quite as fast as you might think it is. So .NET is still used in far more places than .NET Core. Now, if you've joined this course from somewhere else on the internet, I welcome you to investigate Grand Canyon University. Here's a list of technology degrees that we offer. So, as I mentioned at the beginning of the course, I teach in software development, which is exactly what you've learned here. .NET Framework, Java, PHP, those are the kind of things that we work with. Computer science is, of course, the traditional programming degree that gives you algorithms and data structures and artificial intelligence and robotics, and it's much more in-depth in mathematical and graphics, and so compilers and things like that are more computer science rather than just pure software development. Information technology is a degree that we offer, so you learn how to set up servers, networks, design different security environments, make sure that you are running your systems as good IT policies should work. And then cybersecurity is closely related to that so that you can make sure that your company is secure. We have an entire engineering program, so I don't actually work there, but I can tell you that we have mechanical engineering, we have biomedical engineering, and electrical engineering. Some of those people overlap into our computer science area, and they're getting great jobs as engineers as well. So Grand Canyon University, tech degrees are a specialty that you might find interesting if you liked this course. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you online. Look at some of the other things in the playlist to get other skills that you might need for a job.